At 73, Margaret can barely climb a flight of stairs without getting winded. But Sarah, also 73, just completed her first 5K race last month. What's the difference? It's not genetics, it's not luck, and it's definitely not age. The difference is something so simple that most people completely overlook it. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is and how to use it to turn back your biological clock by decades. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that some people seem to get younger as they age, while others seem to age 10 years in just one? There's actually a scientific reason for this, and it has everything to do with something called your movement age versus your chronological age. Stick around because I'm going to reveal the exact formula that determines whether you're aging like Margaret or like Sarah, and more importantly, how to switch from one to the other starting today. Let me tell you about my client, Robert. 3 years ago, Robert was 68 and had given up on his body. He couldn't play with his grandchildren, needed help getting up from low chairs, and his doctor had just told him he was pre-diabetic. Robert believed his best days were behind him. But then, something remarkable happened. Robert's daughter gave him an ultimatum. Dad, either you start taking care of yourself, or I'm moving you into assisted living. That wake-up call changed everything. Today, Robert is 71, and he's in better shape than he was at 50. He plays tag with his grandkids, goes on hiking trips with his wife, and his doctor says he has the cardiovascular health of a 45-year-old. The transformation was so dramatic that people at his high school reunion didn't recognize him. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds too good to be true. But here's the thing. Science backs up Robert's transformation completely. According to research published in the Journal of Gerontology, people who maintain regular exercise routines can have biological ages that are 20-30 years younger than their chronological age. Here's what's actually happening in your body when you exercise regularly. Your muscles don't just get stronger, they actually get younger at the cellular level. A study from the University of Birmingham found that people who exercised regularly had muscle tissue that was virtually identical to people decades younger. Your cardiovascular system literally rewinds. The American Heart Association found that just 30 minutes of moderate exercise, 5 days a week, can reverse 20 years of cardiac aging. But here's the most exciting part. Your brain actually grows new neurons when you exercise. Neuroplasticity research shows that physical activity increases BDNF, a protein that's like fertilizer for your brain cells. Wait, hold on. I know what you're thinking right now. This sounds great, but I'm not like those people. I'm too old, too out of shape, too whatever. Let me stop you right there and tell you about Eleanor. Eleanor started her fitness journey at 82, not 52, not 62, 82 years old. She had never been to a gym in her life, had arthritis in both knees, and was using a walker to get around. Her family thought she was crazy when she announced she wanted to start exercising. Her son actually tried to talk her out of it, worried she'd get hurt. But Eleanor had a vision. She wanted to dance at her great-granddaughter's wedding, which was 8 months away. That was her why, her driving force. She started with just 5 minutes of chair exercises. That's it. 5 minutes. But every day she showed up. Every single day. Within 3 months, Eleanor had graduated from chair exercises to standing exercises. By month 6, she was walking without assistance. And at her great-granddaughter's wedding, Eleanor didn't just dance. She danced for 2 hours straight and was the last person to leave the dance floor. But here's what Eleanor discovered that most people never realize. Eleanor tapped into what exercise physiologists call neuroplasticity windows, specific periods where your brain and body are most adaptable to change. And contrary to popular belief, these windows don't close as you age. They just require the right stimulus to open. The key is understanding your body's adaptation timeline. Week 1, 2. Neurological adaptations begin. Your brain starts forming new neural pathways to coordinate movement. Week 3, 4. Cardiovascular improvements kick in. Your heart becomes more efficient at pumping blood. Week 5, 8. Muscular adaptations start. Your muscles begin retaining more water and storing more energy. Week 9 to 12. Structural changes occur. Your bones become denser, your ligaments stronger. But here's the critical part. Most people quit before week 4, right before the real magic starts happening. They're literally stopping 1 week before their body would start showing them dramatic results. Now, I'm going to share something with you that the fitness industry doesn't want you to know. Something that could save you years of frustration and potentially thousands of dollars. I learned this lesson the hard way through my client, Frank. Frank was 75 when he came to me, frustrated because he'd tried every exercise program marketed to seniors. He'd bought the resistance bands, the balance boards, the whole collection of senior-safe equipment. But nothing worked. In fact, he was getting weaker. That's when I realized the problem. Frank wasn't failing because he was too old, or because the exercises didn't work. Frank was failing because he was following generic programs designed for the average person, not for his specific needs and limitations. See, Frank had a hip replacement, mild arthritis, and balance issues, but every program he tried treated him like every other 75-year-old. They didn't account for his unique body, his specific challenges, or his personal goals. So I designed a program specifically for Frank. We worked around his hip replacement, strengthened the muscles that would support his arthritic joints, and focused on exercises that improved his balance and confidence. The result? In 6 months, Frank went from barely being able to walk around the block to completing a 5-mile charity walk. He didn't just get stronger, he got his life back. And that brings me to the most important point of this entire video. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all exercise program for seniors. Your body is unique, your limitations are unique, and your goals are unique. But there are universal principles that work for everyone. The American College of Sports Medicine identifies 4 pillars of senior fitness that everyone needs to address. Pillar 1, cardiovascular endurance. Your heart and lungs' ability to deliver oxygen to your muscles during sustained activity. Pillar 2, muscular strength. Your muscles' ability to generate force against resistance. Pillar 3, flexibility and mobility. Your joints' range of motion and your muscles' ability to lengthen. Pillar 4, balance and coordination. Your body's ability to maintain stability and control movement. But here's the secret. You don't need to be perfect in all 4 areas. You just need to be good enough in each area to support your daily activities and the things you want to do. Okay, I can see you're still with me, which tells me you're serious about this. So let me ask you directly, what's the one physical activity you've given up that you wish you could do again? For my client, Dorothy, it was gardening. Dorothy was 69 and had been an avid gardener her entire life. Her backyard was her sanctuary, her pride and joy. But arthritis and back problems had made it impossible for her to maintain her garden. When Dorothy came to me, she was heartbroken. She said, "I don't care about being able to run marathons or lift heavy weights. I just want to plant my tomatoes again." That became our mission. We didn't focus on general fitness. We focused on gardening fitness. We worked on her squatting ability so she could plant seeds. We strengthened her grip so she could use her tools. We improved her back strength so she could bend and reach without pain. We also got creative. We built raised garden beds so she didn't have to bend as far. We found ergonomic tools that were easier on her joints. We created a garden layout that required less maintenance, but gave her the same joy. The day Dorothy sent me a photo of herself in her garden, surrounded by her prize-winning tomatoes, I knew we had succeeded. She didn't just get back to gardening, She won first place at the county fair that year. And that's exactly what I want to help you achieve. Dorothy's success wasn't magic, it was science. She followed what researchers call specificity of training, the principle that your body adapts specifically to the demands you place on it. If you want to garden, you train for gardening movements. If you want to play with grandchildren, you train for those activities. If you want to travel, you train for walking, carrying luggage, and navigating airports. This is why generic exercise programs fail. They don't train you for your specific life. But there's a foundation that everyone needs, regardless of their specific goals. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that all seniors need enough cardiovascular fitness to climb 2 flights of stairs without getting winded, enough leg strength to get up from a chair without using their arms, enough balance to walk on uneven surfaces confidently, enough flexibility to reach overhead shelves and tie their shoes. These aren't athletic goals. These are life goals, and they're achievable for almost everyone, regardless of their starting point. Now, I want to share with you the biggest mistake I see people make when they start exercising. This mistake literally sabotages their success before they even begin. Her name was Patricia, and she was 72 when she decided to start exercising. Patricia had been sedentary for years, but she was motivated and determined, maybe too determined. Patricia's plan was to exercise every single day. She was going to walk for an hour every morning, do strength training every afternoon, and practice yoga every evening. She bought all the equipment, joined a gym, and started with intense commitment. For the first week, Patricia stuck to her plan perfectly. She was exhausted but proud. By the second week, she was sore but pushing through. By the third week, her knee started hurting. By the fourth week, she was burned out, injured, and convinced that exercise wasn't for her. Patricia had made the classic mistake. She tried to go from zero to hero overnight. When Patricia came to me 6 months later, she was more out of shape than when she started, and she had lost confidence in her ability to exercise safely. She was convinced she was too old, too fragile, too broken. But that wasn't true. Patricia just needed to understand the most important rule of senior fitness: consistency beats intensity every single time. Which brings me to the formula I promised you at the beginning. The formula for successful senior fitness isn't complicated, but it is specific. It's what I call the 3S formula. Start small, stay consistent, scale gradually. Start small. Begin with that just 10 to 15 minutes of movement, 3 days per week. That's it. Not 30 minutes. Not every day. Not until you're exhausted. Just 10-15 minutes. Stay consistent. It's better to exercise for 10 minutes every other day for a year than to exercise for an hour every day for a month. Consistency is what creates permanent change. Scale gradually. Only increase your exercise duration or intensity by 10% each week. This prevents injury and ensures your body can adapt to the new demands. Here's why this works. Your body doesn't know the difference between a 10-minute walk and a 10-hour hike when it comes to starting the adaptation process. Movement is movement, and your body will respond to consistent, progressive challenges, regardless of how small they start. The key is triggering what exercise physiologists call the adaptation cascade, a series of physiological changes that occur when your body recognizes a new pattern of movement. But here's something that might surprise you. The type of exercise you choose matters less than you think. What matters more is something completely different. Let me tell you about Harold and George. As both men were 74, both had similar health issues, and both started exercising at the same time. Harold chose swimming, George chose walking. Both were perfect choices for their fitness levels. But 6 months later, Harold had transformed his body and his life, while George had made minimal progress. Same age, similar starting points, both doing appropriate exercises. What made the difference? The answer surprised me. Harold loved swimming. He had been a swimmer in high school and had always missed being in the water. For Harold, swimming wasn't exercise. It was joy. He looked forward to his pool time every day. George, on the other hand, walked because he thought he should. He had read that walking was the best exercise for seniors, so that's what he chose. But George didn't enjoy walking. He found it boring and tedious. He did it because he had to, not because he wanted to. Harold's enjoyment created a positive feedback loop. He exercised more consistently because he enjoyed it. He pushed himself harder because it felt good. He looked forward to his workouts instead of dreading them. George's lack of enjoyment created a negative feedback loop. He found excuses to skip workouts. He did the minimum required. He associated exercise with discomfort and obligation. And that's when I discovered the most important principle of all. The best exercise for seniors isn't the one that burns the most calories or builds the most muscle. The best exercise is the one you'll actually do consistently and enjoy doing. Research from Stanford University found that people who enjoyed their exercise routine were 34% more likely to stick with it long term and 28% more likely to see significant health improvements. This is why I always start with what I call the joy audit. Before we choose any exercises, we identify what types of movement bring you joy, what physical activities you've enjoyed in the past, and what you're curious about exploring. Maybe it's dancing, maybe it's gardening, maybe it's playing with grandchildren, maybe it's walking in nature. Whatever it is, we build your fitness program around activities that light you up. Because here's the truth. You don't need to love exercise, but you do need to love what exercise gives you. And when you focus on activities that bring you joy, exercise stops feeling like work and starts feeling like play. The physiological benefits are the same whether you're having fun or suffering through it. But the psychological benefits, the motivation, the consistency, the long-term adherence, those only come when you enjoy what you're doing. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. I know some of you are thinking, this all sounds great, but what if I have health issues? What if I've been told I can't exercise? Meet Susan. Susan was 78 when she came to me, and she had a list of health issues that would make most people give up before they started. She had diabetes, high blood pressure, arthritis in her knees and hips, and had recently recovered from a heart attack. Susan's cardiologist had told her she needed to exercise, but she was terrified. She was afraid of having another heart attack, afraid of falling, afraid of making her arthritis worse. But Susan also had a powerful motivation. Her daughter lived across the country and had just had a baby. Susan wanted to be able to visit and help with her new grandchild, but she was too weak and too fearful to travel alone. We started with Susan sitting in a chair. That's it. Chair exercises. 5 minutes, 3 times a week. We focused on gentle movements that improved her circulation without stressing her heart. Within a month, Susan was standing during her exercises. Within 3 months, she was walking around her house. Within 6 months, she was walking around her neighborhood. But the real victory came 8 months later. Susan flew across the country by herself, spent 2 weeks helping with her new granddaughter, and came back stronger than when she left. She had not only overcome her health limitations, she had used exercise to work around them. And that's the secret that changes everything. Having health issues doesn't disqualify you from exercise. It makes exercise more important, not less important. But it does change how you approach exercise. The key is understanding the difference between absolute contraindications and relative contraindications. Absolute contraindications are rare and usually temporary, like immediately after surgery or during an acute illness. Relative contraindications are common and require modifications, not elimination. Here's what the research shows. For diabetes, exercise improves insulin sensitivity and glucose control. The American Diabetes Association recommends 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week for diabetics. For heart disease, cardiac rehabilitation programs center around exercise because it strengthens the heart and improves circulation. The American Heart Association states that exercise is one of the most important treatments for heart disease. For arthritis, the Arthritis Foundation confirms that appropriate exercise reduces joint pain and stiffness while improving mobility and strength. The key is working with healthcare providers to design an exercise program that works with your conditions, not against them. This might mean modifications. It might mean starting slower, but it rarely means not exercising at all. All right, I can see you're really committed to this, so let me give you something practical, something you can start using today, regardless of your fitness level or health status. This is the story of how I developed what I call the minimum effective dose approach. It came from working with my client, Arthur, who was 81 and had multiple health issues, but was determined to improve his fitness. Arthur had limited time, limited energy, and limited mobility. He could only commit to 15 minutes, 3 times a week. That's it. Most trainers would have told him it wasn't enough. But I thought, what if we could design the perfect 15-minute routine that gave Arthur maximum benefit with minimum time investment? So we created what we called Arthur's Amazing 15. It was a simple circuit that included 3 minutes of gentle warm-up movements, 3 minutes of strength exercises using his own body weight, 3 minutes of balance and coordination work, 3 minutes of flexibility and mobility exercises, 3 minutes of cool down and relaxation. Each section was designed to flow into the next, maximizing efficiency while minimizing transition time. Arthur loved it because it was doable, it was complete, and it fit into his schedule. But the real test was whether it would actually work. 6 months later, Arthur had improved in every area we measured. His strength, his balance, his flexibility, his energy levels. Everything had improved significantly, and he had only invested 45 minutes per week. And that brings me to the system I am about to share with you. Arthur's success was based on what exercise scientists call time-efficient training principles. The idea is that you can achieve significant health benefits with minimal time investment if you choose the right exercises and structure them correctly. Research from the American College of Sports Medicine shows that you can maintain and improve fitness with as little as 20-30 minutes of exercise, 2-3 times per week, if you focus on compound movements that work multiple muscle groups simultaneously. Here's the science behind the minimum effective dose approach. Compound movements like squats, modified push-ups, and step-ups work multiple muscle groups at once, giving you more benefit in less time. Circuit training keeps your heart rate elevated throughout the workout, providing cardiovascular benefits even during strength exercises. Progressive overload, gradually increasing difficulty, ensures continuous improvement without requiring more time. Functional movements that mimic daily activities provide the most practical benefit for seniors. The key is consistency over intensity. A 15-minute workout performed consistently will always beat a 60-minute workout performed sporadically. Now, I want to share with you the exact system that has helped over 500 seniors transform their lives. But first, let me ask you something important. What would your life look like if you had the energy, strength, and confidence of someone 20 years younger? What would you do? Where would you travel? What activities would you enjoy? What dreams would you pursue? Because that's not just a fantasy. That's a realistic outcome when you follow the right system consistently. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the complete blueprint that has helped hundreds of seniors achieve exactly that transformation. You'll get the exact exercises, the precise progressions, and the specific timeline that turns this dream into reality. But more importantly, you'll understand why this system works when others fail. and how to customize it for your specific needs and goals. Let me leave you with one final story. It's about a woman named Betty, and it's the story that inspired me to create this entire system. Betty was 85 when she first contacted me. She had been in a nursing home for 6 months, and her family had been told she would never live independently again. Betty had fallen, broken her hip, and during her recovery had lost so much strength and confidence that she couldn't perform basic daily activities. But Betty had a goal that seemed impossible. She wanted to move back into her own home. Everyone told her it was unrealistic. Her doctors, her family, even other residents at the nursing home. But Betty was determined. We started with exercises she could do in her wheelchair. Then we progressed to exercises she could do holding onto her walker. Then exercises she could do standing on her own. It took 18 months, but Betty achieved her goal. She moved back into her own home. And she's still living there today, 3 years later. She's not just surviving, she's thriving. Betty proved that it's never too late to reclaim your independence, your strength, and your life. Age is just a number, but strength is a choice, and that choice is available to you right now. Here's what I want you to do right now. Stand up from wherever you're sitting. If you can't stand up without using your arms, that's okay. Use your arms. If you need to hold on to something for balance, that's fine too. Now, I want you to take 5 deep breaths. With each breath, I want you to imagine yourself 1 year from now, having followed the principles I've shared with you today. You're stronger, more energetic, more confident. You're doing activities you thought you'd never be able to do again. You are living the life you want to live, not the life you've settled for. That vision isn't just possible, it's probable if you're willing to start small, stay consistent, and scale gradually. Your journey to a younger, stronger, more vibrant you doesn't start tomorrow or next week, or when you feel ready. It starts right now, with the next choice you make. Remember, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Your future self is counting on the decision you make today. Don't let them down. If this video has inspired you to take action, hit that like button and subscribe for more life-changing content. And in the comments below, tell me, what's the one physical activity you're most excited to get back to? I read every comment, and your story might be featured in our next video. Remember, move it or lose it isn't just a saying, it's a choice. And today, you're choosing to move it.